it.
Good morning. Today we're going to learn how to make what we call the Golden Girdle, or a belt that is worn by the ministers in our church. To begin with, the first thing you need is a size 10 aluminum crochet hook and at least 2 spools of silk thread. The thread can be obtained from the bishop's office, and these girdles can be made anywhere. They don't have to be made. Once you've finished them, you send them back to the bishop's office. Now the silk has dye lock, so be sure and get at least 8 ounces of thread to make your girdle. As you can see, these colors are very different, and you don't want to go to all that time and trouble only to find that your girdle is not long enough. So to begin with, cut. So to begin with, we are going to have a kind of a long strand here, and I'll explain that later because we use that and we make a loop in the thread. Take your needle and chain 30 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I move my thumb up. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Move my thumb up again, and this way the tension is easier. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, the next step is to make a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. As you can see, the chain has a right side and a wrong side. This is the right side, and the bumpy end side is the wrong side. So you want to try and concentrate on keeping the right side up. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, through the chain, yarn over, through 2 loops, yarn over, through the last loop. And again, we're going to go through that same chain, which is the 4th chain, yarn over, pull it through, go through 2, go through 2 again. Mess it up. Now we're going to skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and we're going to put 5 double crochets into the next chain. 1, 2, can you cut? I have to put my glasses on. Okay. 3, 4, and 5. Oops. Skip 2 chains and make a single crochet. Now don't worry if this first row is a little loose, because the first row gets tucked under on the belt and you don't see it. So we've made a single crochet. We're going to skip 2 chains and again 5 double crochets. Yarn over through 2, yarn over past 2. Sometimes you'll find that it jumps off the needle. It's a very kind of slippery silk. If you want to practice, you use size 10 gauge cotton thread, and that's pretty much the same gauge as the silk, not quite as slippery. So sometimes it helps if you haven't crocheted in a long time or you're not used to a small needle to practice on the cotton thread. Again, we have 5. We skip 2 and make a single crochet. The girdle is typically 83 inches long. It takes me approximately 80 hours to make one. So don't worry, take your time. It's a labor of love. And the girdle also is 2 3/8 inch wide. Now, if you're new at making the girdle, you want to have a ruler and kind of measure as you go along the width of your belt, because so that the tension kind of remains the same and you don't get off track too much. Skip 2, single crochet. What you're going to have is 4.5 shells across. This is the shell stitch, and usually you can find this pattern anywhere online. It's fairly simple, extremely redundant because the entire belt is made with this stitch. Now, a couple things you may find that occasionally there will be a knot in the thread. I encourage you to go to the end of a row and we are at the end of this. We're going to chain 3. This is row 2, and we repeat this row throughout the girdle. Turn it over and do 2 double crochets in the same stitch. Oops. Wait a minute, hold on just a second. I don't think I did it right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's a good example that if we mess up, then we can take it out and pick up where we left off.
Okay, so now row 2. Chain 1, single crochet in the top of the last double crochet. Then you're going to skip the 3 double crochet or 2 double crochets and make 5 double crochets in between 2 shells. After you make 5 double crochets, you make a single crochet at the top of the third double crochet underneath. So skip 2 double crochets, go through both, and make a single crochet. Skip 2 double crochets and 1. That's Benjamin barking.
Hi, Benjamin.
Okay, we're going to skip 2 double crochets and put it at the top of the middle double crochet. Single crochet. The hardest part is the very beginning. After that, it's really smooth sailing. So the first 2 rows are kind of the most difficult, but as I said, don't worry about if it looks a little lacy or a little uneven, because you're not going to see the first 2 rows. And then we make skip 2 and put it in there. Turn over. 2. When you join it, it goes through the entire stitch. Okay, so we have 4.5 shells, and you just keep repeating row 2 forever. For chain 3 and 2 double crochets. In the first stitch for your half shell, single crochet in the middle double crochet of the prior row, and continue across, and that's the beginning of the belt. Trying to find it. So here's an example of a belt in progress. There is a right side, the holes are a little bit more prominent, and the wrong side. Again, if you have to cut the thread, you want to join it at the side and then just weave the thread over into the side of the girdle. Okay, now we're going to talk about tassels. In order to make the tassel, you take your thread and wrap it around a 6-inch piece of cardboard. I find my checkbook works just fine. And here's an example of a knot in the thread, but that's going to where I'm going to cut it, so it won't matter. But I'm afraid that if it's in the middle of a girdle, it could come apart. So you're going to wrap it around the 6 inches 200 times. 200. The next thing you're going to do is cut a piece. Actually, this is like 2 3/4 or a half. That's fine. Anywhere between 2 3/8 and 2 3/4 is just fine for the width of the girdle. Okay. I'm going to take a piece of thread about this long. It doesn't really matter. And we're going to slide it through all put the thread through the top, and now we're gently going to slide this off the piece of cardboard and or checkbook. Grab the 2 ends and make a very tight knot, and then knot it again. A second time. I make them long enough so they can just be part of the tassel, like that. And or you use these ends to sew it to the girdle. There we are, nice and tight. Next thing we're going to do is cut another piece. We're going to wrap this around the tassel about 1 inch or so below the knot. Wrap it around twice or 3 times. And keep it away from the top. Very tight knot. Like that. The wear and tear, sometimes the threads come out, so sometimes it's good to even reinforce this with regular thread. So here we have the main part, our tassel. And what you're going to do then is cut here. The tassel should be about 6 inches long. And you'll find that once you cut all of them, they may be different lengths. And that's okay. What I do then is take my ruler and put it here, and then take my rotary cutter and cut it across here. And then they're just fine. Okay. Anyway, that's your tassel. Now we're going to make the cap for the tassel. This is what the cap looks like. Again, I start with a long thread, and I take that thread and bring it up to the top of the cap.
Can you show us how to make the cap?
Yeah, I'm going to show you.
Oh, you are? Okay.
And then you will put it over here. And there you have your cap. Sometimes I'll sew it around here a little bit just to make it secure. Okay, so to make the cap, we start with our thread. And we then have a long tail on it. We make our loop, and we chain 25. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sometimes that happens, that's okay. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Now this is the trickiest part of the whole project.
Mm-hmm.
This is the right side, the flat side, and that's the wrong side. But you want to carefully put it in a circle and don't twist it. And join it to make a circle. There, join it. Okay, so again, at this point, you want to check it. Make sure it's not really twisted. And even you want to look at it carefully so that you're crocheting on the right side. So I chain 1 and single crochet into each chain around. Loop. Again, the first row may not be as even as the rest, but that's all right.
And I remember you saying to do it nice and loose.
Yes. So if you have it too tight, it's too hard to manage.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to be able to manage it at the beginning. It takes time to get your tension consistent, but you'll get there. And this labor of love is much appreciated by the men who wear these. They wear them for their entire priesthood life, and they're only given one, so they have to take good care of it. You can see how I'm using my thumb to kind of guide it and hold it tight. And for me, it makes it a little more manageable. The nice part about having the long tail at the beginning is you know where you started, and it's easier to count the rows because you can either you can either chain one and keep going, or you can just make it continuous. So now that I've made the first row, I am going to go through the entire stitch for the next row. And you just keep turning it so you see the top of the row. And as you can see, the first row is the hardest, just like in the belt. And after that, it's smooth sailing. Alright, so we're going to continue with this for 13 rows. And we have 13 rows, and what we're going to do next is decrease the cap. So here's the beginning, so I have a few more for the 13th row. And if you do 14, that's okay. We just want it to cover the top of the tassel. I'll do 2 more. These rows are kind of hard to count, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Alright, so now we're going to decrease. And what I do to decrease, go into the yarn over and pull up, go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up, and then go through all 3 loops. 2 more single crochets, 1, 2, and then we're going to decrease. You just yarn up through the next stitch, yarn up, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops.
So it's kind of 2 regular stitches and then 2 combined.
Yes, 2, then regular, single crochet, and now a decrease. 1 into the first one, into the second one, yarn over, and through 2. And then 2 single crochet, into the next single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, into the next one, yarn over, pull, and through 2. I want the cap to kind of not be evenly decreased. So I'll do this for the first row. And the next row, I will decrease and then do 1 single crochet. And the third row is just decrease.
There we go. Okay.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was the first row, and the second row is decrease, and then 1 single crochet, and then decrease, and 1 single crochet all the way around.
So whereas before it was 2 decrease and 2 single crochet, or 2,
Now
yeah,
yes, now it's
and that's 2 into the decrease and 1 single crochet. Right.
helps to have that long thread so you know where you began. You don't have to continually count. Okay, that's the second row of decreasing. And now the last one is decrease for 2 stitches, yarn over, pull it through, decrease, and decrease again. Yeah, be careful not to grab the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Not away from them. that's it. So make a long thread, pull it tight, and there's your beautiful cap for the wonderful. You know, obviously these aren't the same color, but you find the right side, which is this side, I think. And you're going to fold it like this. And because I usually leave a long piece of thread here, take a regular needle and sew it across here and across here. Then you're going to take this and the other one that you pulled through and sew it to the top to here. And you just use a regular needle and reinforce it a couple times, going through a couple stitches so that it hangs nicely. And now we will show you an example of one of the first girdles that was made.
Before you jump to that, am I remembering that you were saying to sew with thread around between the cap and the tassel as well?
Yeah.
So
right.
Just with regular thread.
So another thing you can do just to secure the threads so they don't pull out is to take regular gold thread and sew around here to reinforce and kind of hold the threads against the tassel cap, and that way it's less likely, because sometimes they do get stepped on.
Okay.
This is one of the first, well, this was the first color of the girdles, and as you can see, it is bright gold, and it is long, 83 inches. So any of you know where to buy gold silk thread, 10 gauge, please let the bishop's office know, because it gets harder and harder to find it. As you can see, they turned it over, they sewed the tassel, and then the girdle gets lined. And what we do now is the lining is 2 inches and it's covered with cotton. We embroider each candidate's name on the inside of the girdle and the year that he was ordained. We use coat hooks to put the girdles together like that. So they are then, we don't make these extra loops. The ministers then wrap it around once, and then they wrap it around again with the other side. Something like that.
They're taught how to do that, so hopefully we don't need to worry too much about it.
Right. So that's it.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sherry, for sharing your wisdom with us, and hopefully we can run with it
Here's
from
an
here.
example of one that's too lacy. You don't want the girdle to be too lacy, and how this happened was they used the wrong size hook. So that's why you use a size 10 hook, because you don't want it to be lacy. And as you can see, this measures almost 3 inches. It's a little So you don't want it too tight, but you don't want it as lacy as this. Good luck to all of you, and thank you.
Thank you.